Hello. Okay, on this episode, we're going to talk about some equations for algebra. And we're specifically going to start out talking about just quickly, easy, one-step equations, all right? When we talk about one-step equations, what that means is that we're talking about an equation that we can solve just using one step, one inverse operation. Inverse operations, if we remember that, inverse operations. Okay, and let's say, for example, we have a problem that looks like this, and our problem is m plus 12, and that's going to be equal to 10. Now, in order for me to solve this, I want to find out what m equals. That means that it should be m is equal to some value. All right, now in order for me, I'm going to look at the relationship on the left expression that has my variable. And this left expression, again, this is an expression, and 10 is also an expression. These are both expressions. All right, I'm going to write this expressions and expression, and that's like, I don't know if it's spelled right or not, but that's okay. So each one of those is an expression, and those two expressions make up an equation. And I know it's an equation because of this fun little equal sign right there. All right. Now, I'm going to isolate that m, and I'm going to look at these two terms in this left expression, and I'm going to look at the operation. And these two terms are being added to each other. I know that they're being added because of that plus sign there. Now, I need to get the m by itself. In order to get the m by itself, I want to look at this positive 12. And I'm going to look at my inverse operation of positive 12. The inverse of positive 12 is negative 12. Okay? So in order for that to become 0, I'm going to subtract negative 12 from that, and that will give me 0 on that side. If I subtract 12 from this left expression, I need to subtract 12 from this right expression as well. So now I'm left with m, and then that's going to be m is equal to, or m plus 0, but 0 is an invisible math, so we can just drop it. And then that's going to be m is equal to 10 minus 12. Okay, well, 10 minus 12 is going to give me negative 2. So my value for m is going to be equal to negative 2. Now I need to check this. So I'm going to check because I know that you and me, we're going to ask, did I do this right? So I'm going to substitute that negative 2 in for m. Okay, so I'm going to substitute, and I'm going to put that negative 2 in parentheses. Because remember, I'm taking this variable. Let me do it this way. I'm going to check in my equation. My equation is m plus 12 is equal to 10. And I'm going to substitute negative 2, because we said m is equal to negative 2. So I'm going to substitute in for m, negative 2, and I'm going to add that to 12, and that's going to be equal to 10. Okay, let's see if that means, if I did this correct, then I should have 10 on both sides. Okay, so then negative 2 plus 12 will give me 10 is equal to 10. Now let's say you get confused, right? You're thinking, oh wait, because 10 is equal to 10. That's correct. If I subtract 10 from both sides, that's going to give me 0 is equal to 0. That is also true. This is correct and will always be true. So I'm okay, and I know that both of these, both sides of my equation are equal to each other, so I did this correctly. So I know that I'm done. Now, let's say we get a more difficult problem. And a difficult problem by being that, let's say we have where instead of here, our constant value is positive. Let's say our constant value is a negative. So let's say, for example, I have negative 2, and that's going to be equal to g, and then I'm going to subtract 9 from that. Okay, well, instead of, just like before, I'm going to look at my variable, so it should be g is equal to. All right, I want it to be g is equal to whatever that answer is. And I'm going to look at what's happening between the g and the negative 9, these two terms here. Well, if I look at the g and the negative 9, I have no parentheses. So I know this is g minus 9. So that means I need to look at the 9, and I'm going to move it. I'm going to cancel that out. I want that to be equal to 0. So I'm going to look at the inverse operation. So by the inverse operation, I'm going to add 9 to both sides. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. Okay, do you see how I did that? Now, that's going to cancel out and become 0. 9, so then I'm only left with G on this side. 9 minus 2 gives me positive 7. So then G is equal to 7. All right. Again, let's go back and look at our original equation and let's see if that works out. So my check, I'm going to have negative 2 is equal to G minus 9. So now I'm going to substitute in 7 for G because we said G is equal to 7. So I'm going to say 2 is equal to, parentheses, 7 minus 9. So we're not moving anything, so that's going to be negative 2. I'm going to bring that down. Then 7 minus 9 gives me negative 2. So that checks. Again, let's say I want to continue. So I'm going to add 2 to both sides. All right, that's going to give me 0 is equal to 0. That checks. So I did this correctly. G is equal to 7 for this equation. All right. Now, let's continue. Oops, I stopped it instead of. Let's talk about if we have a problem that has the dreaded fraction. Okay, and let's say if I have a problem, let's say this is a over 9, and that's equal to negative 4. Listen, again, we're just going to deal with the inverse. Not only are we doing the inverse of the operation, we're doing the inverse of the number, or rather the reciprocal, kind of the same terminology. The reciprocal of a over 9 is 9 over 1, because remember, in front of every variable is an imaginary, or any value is an imaginary 1. It's one of those invisible maths, all right? So that means that I can multiply this side by 9 over 1. And just like normally, just like subtracting, if I multiply the left side of my equation by 9 over 1, that means I need to multiply the right side of my equation by also 9 over 1. This cancels out and becomes 1. So then this just becomes 1 times a, or I can just say a is equal to, again, this is invisible math, so that's just going to go away. I don't really need to think about that. So then that just become negative 4 times 9. Negative 4 times 9 is going to give me negative, it's been a long day, so my brain is not 100% working. Let me use my calculator. My apologies. I believe it's 39 times 4 is 36. Negative 36. All right, so let's check. I want to check to see if this works out. So my check, I'm going to say my equation that I'm checking it in is a over 9 is equal to negative 4. So I'm going to substitute in negative 36 over 9, and that's going to be equal to negative 4. Negative 36 is negative 4, so negative 4 is equal to negative 4. So that's correct. I don't really need to go to that 0 is equal to 0 every time. I can stop here. So that checks out. I will see you in the next video, and I will go over some more difficult problems.